What's up? Hello, everybody. if everybody is watching, everybody does find this video. My name is Tom Greer. I am a avid podcaster. Love me some podcast listening and doing. And I am deciding to do my own sports podcast. I'll be putting them out hopefully weekly, at the very least, on my channel. And this is the first, like I said, of what I hope is many. To be honest, I've been podcasting for a really long time. I've been doing the Grindhouse Radio for the last 7 years. Where you hear me, they call me Mr. Greer on that show. We're a pop culture celebrity talk, celebrity interview podcast. We just talk about all the things that happen in pop culture, the things that happen to us during the week, and we get to interview a new celebrity usually every week. It's me. I'm my co-host, actually my girlfriend, Kim Adragna, and Brimstone. He's a former wrestler for WWE when it was WWF. Got his own comic book line. He's a internet personality. You can see him. Just look up Brimstone. But like I said, I'm from the Grindhouse Radio, and I have been meaning to branch out and do my own sports show for a really long time now. And I did one mock one by myself yesterday. And I wasn't really all that huge a fan because I'll be honest with you, I've been struggling with the idea of doing a show by myself because I've been doing Grindhouse Radio for as long as I have been, and I've always had co-hosts, and I've never been comfortable just doing a show by myself. But we're gonna just kind of throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks. I know I can talk, so I used to joke that I could talk sports with a wall for ever, and we're gonna try and see if I can do it, basically, because I'm just gonna be having a conversation with myself, just talking into the void, and hopefully people tune in and listen, and can leave me some reviews, some comments. These will probably just be on YouTube, and then once I have enough of them, I'll put them on the streaming platforms for Spotify, Apple Music, because I'm pretty sure there's like a minimum that you have to do. But this show is currently untitled. It'll probably just go up on my YouTube page, just as what I'm talking about, which is we just had week 1 in the NFL. I actually am sitting down right now, just fresh off of watching that dumpster fire of a game that was the Tampa Bay Buccaneers and Cowboys, Dallas Cowboys. And the only reason I say dumpster fire because of how Dallas wound up looking in that game. But so yeah, that's pretty much all this is. It is a seeking for title sports podcast that I'm currently doing, and I didn't really have much prepared for today. I just was like, I've been talking about doing this for a really long time. My friggin' therapist was like, just do it. You know what I mean? Just sit down, record, see what happens, and here we are. So we just had, I guess let's just get right into some sports. You know what I mean? Like, who cares? My introduction. But if you could, like I said, follow me. My name's at the bottom. Follow me at It's Mr. Greer on everything. I stream on TikTok. I stream on Twitch too. So when I get that, when I get that back up going, please hit me with a follow there. But everywhere else, it's Mr. Greer. You can find me, and check out the Grindhouse Radio every Thursday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time is when we go live, or when our shows become available. So go check that out, and hopefully you enjoy my content here. Well, get right into it. We just had week 1 in the NFL season, and there's something just like I think it's probably just with all sports, and for me, not so much hockey. Like, if I'm ranking my favorite sports, to be honest with you, it is baseball here, football here, hockey right under it. I'm not crazy into basketball. I've been slowly but surely getting more and more into basketball. And if I'm looking away from the camera, it's just because I'm looking at NFL.com so I can just remember all the scores. Because I'm going to, just talk about the week that was in the NFL this past week and how much fun it absolutely was. And as you can see, I'm a big Giants fan. Giants. and I will go in depth with how I feel about the New York Football Giants and what just a really refreshing win they had against the Tennessee Titans. But you know, I was saying, I think it's with all opening days in sports, it just feels amazing. You know what I mean? You've just gone so long without it. Like my favorite day is baseball opening day, and a very very close. And you know what? I would even argue I'd even argue with myself that it's like baseball opening day is 1A and football opening day is 1B. You know what I mean? Because it's just something amazing. No, like the ritual of waking up, throwing on my favorite Giants jersey. In this case, it's my old Lucky Eli jersey that I've had for years. Throwing on my Giants hat, going to my parents' house, sitting down, watching the game with my brother and my dad. My other brother, he lives in Ohio. When he's in, we all just watch the games together, and it's just a ritual. It's just a fun, sit down. You got freaking Red Zone on one TV. You got one of the local games on the other. If the Giants are playing, depending on when the Giants are playing, 1 or 4. And it's just great. 7 hours. What does Scott Hansen say? 7 hours of commercial-free football. It's literally like just, highlight of the week, highlight of the fall into the winter. It's just amazing. Like, if there was a sport that was the closest thing to like religion, it's got to be the NFL. You know what I mean? Everybody, you're making your dips, your chilies, you're getting wings, you're everybody's getting together. You might be barbecuing a little bit. You're throwing the games on. You're checking your fantasy teams. You're placing bets now that it's for the most part legal everywhere. I didn't hit on a single one, but it's it's just football season's different. Of all the other sports, football season is different. And I feel like football fandom is different. There's just a different appreciation and just excitement because there isn't a lot of games. We know there's only 17 games, and then playoffs. But, for some of us, I'm a Giants fan. So for the last, 10 years, since 2011, since their last Super Bowl, it hasn't been much excitement. There really isn't a lot of playoffs. And if I don't look at the camera, it's because I get uncomfortable just staring right into the camera. So I might just look at this screen, or I'll look at, make sure my audio is fine on my on OBS. But it's this is just a really exciting time. Especially for me. Like I said, being a Giants fan and having zero expectations because of how bad this team has been over the years. Coming into a season with zero expectations, I'm just excited. I'm just excited to sit down. I was excited on Thursday to watch Buffalo versus LA. I was excited to, turn on Red Zone and just see games like the Saints in Atlanta, Carolina and Cleveland. Like, it's all that. It's the storylines that go behind that, Carolina, Baker was in Carolina, was going against the Browns, the team that kind of scorned him. Joe Flacco was playing for the Jets, going against the team he won a Super Bowl for, the Baltimore Ravens. We have Monday coming, and it's Russell Wilson for the Broncos facing the Seattle Seahawks, whom he's playing for the team that he beat in the Super Bowl to get his only Super Bowl ring. So like the storylines are just always amazing for the NFL. You had another one. You had Kyler, first game of the season after they had that scandal where he had those weird parameters in his contract that because I think he had to study the playbook a certain amount of times, or I don't know. There was a clause in his contract that made it kind of question whether or not the Falcons believed he was putting all the work in and making sure he could be the best quarterback he could be. He was going out there against Kansas City after signing that mega deal. I don't know. It's just football season. Let me know what you feel like in the comments. But I feel like football season is just different compared to all the other sports. Even though, like I said, baseball is my number one. Always will be my number one. Live and die. I bleed blue and orange. I think maybe. So let's get right into it. Enough about talking about the beauty of the start of the NFL season. Let's kind of just get right into it. So we had Buffalo and LA on Thursday, and this is obviously old news. Where I'm putting this out on a freaking Monday, and I know that game's like decades old at this point. It's like age of the internet. Everybody gets stuff right away. But I wasn't expecting a absolute blowout because that game ended 31-10. I wasn't expecting LA to get the absolute doors blown off them. I know Stafford was dealing with some injuries. It wasn't exactly the exact same team that went to the Super Bowl last year, but excuse me as I spill all over myself. I didn't expect 31-10. I thought the game was going to be a little bit more competitive than that, but the offense just did not look in sync. I mean, like Cooper Kupp got a couple of touches, but Matt Stafford did not look like he was all there. And even with the Rams defense, they looked like they were definitely missing Von Miller. And oh boy, did Josh Allen and the Bills just have their way with them. You know what I mean? Like Jalen Ramsey was just getting torched all night. That whole defense did not look like that vaunted Rams defense that we saw ready for the Super Bowl last year. You know what I mean? Like, Buffalo just in the first week looked like the team that everybody is assuming is going to be a Super Bowl favorite or playing in the Super Bowl this year, finally getting over the hump. I mean, it is still kind of a believe it when I see it kind of thing because, how many times do we have to hear really good teams or these guys are going to go ahead and win the Super Bowl, and it just doesn't happen. But they looked like absolute juggernauts. Like of everybody, like I think obviously like looking at the scores right now, the teams that looked like they can't be stopped is Buffalo and probably even Kansas City. Like Kansas City, even with losing Tyreek Hill, 44-21 against Arizona, that is not a bad game. You know what I mean? Pat Mahomes found a way to win. Travis Kelce still was getting open. Juju, I think he had a fumble and like didn't have that many targets. How many targets did Juju have in this game? Let's take a look. Let's see if NFL Network or if the NFL website will give me the actual stats. And they should. Chiefs, Pat Mahomes, Jerry McKinnon, Valdez Scantling minus -3 yards. That's not great. Yeah, average -3 yards. Juju had 6 receptions for 8 targets, 79 total yards. That's not great. Travis Kelce had 121 yards and a touchdown, but you knew Travis Kelce was going to have a big day because, like, who else is Pat Mahomes going to have to rely on? You know what I mean? Like, it's been him and Kelce. It was Tyreek Hill. It was the trio of Mahomes, Kelce, and Tyreek Hill. So you knew that he was going to get a heavy amount of targets. He had 9 targets, a touchdown, 8 receptions. So that's good. But like I said, 44-21. 14 points in the first quarter, 9 in the second, 14 in the third, 7 in the fourth. Like they just steamrolled Arizona. So, I mean, it just goes to show that the AFC is going to be an absolute murderer's row. You know what I mean? The AFC West is going to be amazing. Buffalo's going to be really good. Cincinnati, absolute disappointment. I don't know how you lose to Mitchell Trubisky and the Pittsburgh Steelers, especially with Najee going down with a foot injury. TJ Watt went down with what they think is a torn pec. What is it? I think how many picks did Joe Burrow throw? Because it was a hefty amount. Like I to be honest with you, I watch a lot of Red Zone. And I don't have like the NFL package. I can't scroll through a bunch of games. I can watch whatever the local games are and Red Zone. That's really it. So I just saw a lot of the highlights of a lot of these games or like snippets of a lot of these games. But Joe Burrow went 33 for 53 for 338 yards, 2 TDs, and 4 INTs. 4 INTs for the man that was supposed to be the second coming, like the next great guy to step up. I'm not dumping on Joe Burrow. I know he's great. He was just in the Super Bowl. I know he's really good. So, no, I'm not going to just be dumping all over Joe Burrow. I actually really like him. But it just goes to show that, like, maybe Cincinnati is going to take a step back. Because, look, I think somebody was making the case that, the year before, the Bengals really weren't all that good. They were picking top 5, top 10 in the draft the year before. I really don't remember, to be quite honest. But that was with an injured Joe Burrow. So, but regardless, 23-20 against the Pittsburgh Steelers, who are starting Mitchell Trubisky. I don't know. I feel like he should have been able to do better than 23-20. I feel like he should have been able to pull that game out in Cincinnati. You know, their offensive line didn't look good. Their offensive line, Burrow looked like he was under duress most of the game. And nobody did anything else. Tyler Boyd and Ja'Marr Chase had a couple of touchdowns. T. Higgins going down kind of sucked. Joe Mixon didn't do anything. He had 63 yards. You're not going to win when you can't run the ball at all. You know what I mean? Like, even though Joe Burrow is a really good quarterback and can sling the ball all over the field, you do got to have some semblance of a running game. And the Bengals had none of it. Pittsburgh Steelers. Mitchell Trubisky was 21 for 38, 194 yards, one touchdown. Najee Harris going down sucks. Najee Harris going down really sucks for a lot of people in fantasy because I know he was going to be relied on a whole bunch, and especially having a foot injury, you don't know how. You obviously don't know how that's going to hold up. How that's going to play out. That's not great. I think I have him in one of my leagues too, so I'm even upset. But yeah, this was a rough one to watch. I was really pulling for Cincinnati. Just got I as I drink my water ridiculously. I don't really like. I don't want to say I like Cincinnati because I really like. I'm a Giants fan. I don't really like other teams, but I can respect other teams because I just enjoy the game of football. I just love sports. I just love watching sports. Hence why I'm kind of talking sports right now. Obviously, duh. If you're watching this, you like sports too. We like sports. There we go. Some things in common. But yeah, I was expecting a lot. Like I felt like we had a lot of weird. We had a few weird finales in this week of football. Like it was a weird week one, and I feel like we're this is gonna be the norm in week one. Like you're not like maybe the first like 2 weeks, you're really not gonna get a full grasp on how a lot of these teams are because nobody plays in the preseason. Like the Giants. Sure, we'll just go into it. Like I said, I'm a Giants fan, so I might, like I said, with no plan for how this show was gonna go, I might spend a little bit more time on the Giants just because that was absolutely amazing. But I feel like because a lot of teams don't play in the preseason, you're gonna get a lot of penalties, miscues on offense because these guys haven't had a lot of time to gel. You know what I mean? Because, like I said, because nobody plays in the preseason, the preseason's an absolute joke. And to be honest with you, like with the way a lot of these games works, I gotta say they were entertaining. Chargers, Vegas, pretty entertaining. KC, Arizona, I know it was a little bit of a rout, but it was pretty entertaining. Giants, Tennessee was down to the wire. That was a 1-point game. Washington, Jacksonville, that was a 6-point game. I know that kind of got a little ugly. I think Trevor Lawrence. There's 22 points on the board right there for Jacksonville, and I still don't think Trevor Lawrence looked all that great. He left like one of their rookie running backs like wide open in the end zone, like could have hit him for an easy play. Let's take a look at the stats here. Trevor Lawrence, 24 for 42, not amazing. 275 yards, one touchdown, one INT. This is also I'm literally just these are just basic stats that I'm reading off of NFL.com. I didn't go to Pro Football Focus. I think you need a you need an account for that. Maybe, I don't know, but yeah, like I said, this is my introductory show, everybody. My introductory to a nameless sports podcast that I will be doing. I'm going to be workshopping some names for myself. I just needed to record something to feel like I was doing something, and I've been dying to put something out, so I figured why not do week one of the NFL season, a wrap up after the first set of games. And I can't even say that. Travis Etienne, if somebody put in the comments, if anybody does watch this, put in the comments, how do you actually say that name? Like phonetically, put it out for me. But there were a few times where Trevor Lawrence was just flat out missing people. I didn't think he looked all that impressive. And I was really hoping, like I had a perfect world. There was a point where Washington was losing to Jacksonville, and I believe for like 2 seconds the Lions had a lead over Philly. So I was like, let's go. Everybody in the NFC East loses. Giants win. Giants get to be in first place. I don't remember the last time the Giants were in first place in the NFC East. To be quite honest, this is the first time after today. This is the first time the Giants have had a winning record. Since 2016, I believe. I think that was the last time. They said it after the broadcast, but That obviously didn't happen. Washington won 28-22. Carson Wentz kind of came alive a little bit in that. He was 27 from 41. I guess not terrible. 313 yards, 4 touchdowns, 2 INTs. Four touchdowns and 2 INTs. That's going to win you a game. That's going to be pretty good. But again, it's the Jacksonville Jaguars. And to be honest with you, to the dozen Jacksonville Jaguars fans that actually exist, I'm just never going to believe. Like, there's always going to be hype around that team. It's like they'll be like, at some point they're gonna figure it out. They tanked for Trevor Lawrence. They're gonna figure it out. They got Doug Peterson. Dude won a Super Bowl a few years ago. They're gonna figure it out. I don't believe it. I think they're just gonna continuously and habitually be a dumpster fire year after year after year after year, picking at the top of the draft and doing nothing with it and squandering it because it's just prove me wrong otherwise. For most of my life, I feel like the Jacksonville Jaguars have been absolute, utter garbage. That's just the way it is, and I feel like it's just gonna stay that way. They wasted a career of Maurice Jones-Drew back in the day. Revolving door quarterbacks, Blake Bortles, Chad Henne, I think was down there, Byron Leftwich, Gardner Minshew, there's been so many that I just can't obviously list them all. But it's just year after year of disappointment for a very small fan base, and I just don't think it's ever gonna. Obviously, look, at some point they'll probably figure it out. I don't know how long I'm gonna live for, but I'm assuming at some point in my lifetime I'm gonna see the Jacksonville Jaguars semi-competent. But this is not. It's not now. It's definitely not now. Washington kind of figured it out. And I don't even really necessarily believe in the Commanders. This was just in my opinion, a battle of two garbage, or at least one garbage and one mediocre. Jacksonville being garbage and Washington probably mediocre because I know their defense is supposedly not too bad when Chase Young's healthy. They weren't all that bad last year, and I know it was the focus and the bright spot on the Washington Commanders. And if Carson Wentz can stay healthy and figure it out, maybe they got something. But, Carson Wentz couldn't be healthy and figure it out in Philly. And he couldn't be healthy and figure it out in Indianapolis. So what makes us think that he's going to figure it out with one of the most dysfunctional franchises in the history of the NFL? Look, I know that they have a coach that they feel is stable and consistent in Ron Rivera, but with an owner like Dan Snyder, I'd have to imagine the Washington Commanders are one of the poorest run franchises and one of the biggest, just mismanaged franchises in the entire NFL. But, again, another game that I basically caught most of Red Zone on. The only games that I got to really watch in almost their entirety was the Giants game, obviously, and the Eagles and Lions game, which went about. Let's back out. Let's take a look at that game. Didn't go the way I initially expected. You know what I mean? To be quite honest with you, even though I'm not the if we're listing quarterback stats for everybody, according to NFL.com, those stats are not available. That's not fun. That's not great. I'll just refresh it, see what happens. But as somebody who's not the biggest fan of Jalen Hurts, this isn't working. Somebody who's not the biggest fan of Jalen Hurts, I still expected the Eagles to pull this one out simply just because of the talent. They have a nice running game. Their offensive line is supposedly better. They got A.J. Brown. Davonte Smith is pretty good. Like, just with the pieces around Jalen Hurts, I figured he was going to be at least able to be a serviceable quarterback and enough to have him win a few games and be a contender for the Cowboys. Because like I said, I'm not a delusional Giants fan who's just like, the Giants are going to win the division. No, I'm not a homer who's just going to blindly follow the Giants and say that they're going to win when you can't. Come on, the team won like 4 games last year. I knew that this division was probably going to come down to the Cowboys, which we'll get to later, and the Eagles. I thought the Eagles were going to have a better defense, having to get Bradbury. I think they just got a corner from the Saints. That's pretty good, and I can't remember his name. But I knew the defense, like the Philly defense, was supposedly gonna hold up pretty good, and I thought that they had enough weapons around Jalen Hurts for him to be successful enough to not ruin the game for them. And I mean, evidently he was. They got 38 points out of the deal, 38-35 box score. That's what I'm looking for. Jalen Hurts was 18 for 32, so not all that great. 243 yards, 7.6 average yards per attempt. He only got sacked once. No touchdowns. So he didn't throw for any touchdowns. Wait a minute. Timeout. I think my computer's freaking out, actually. We got a Jalen Hurts touchdown. Miles Sanders touchdown. Kenneth Gainwell touchdown. Boston Scott touchdown. So I would have to say we got ourselves a nice rushing attack, and we did see a lot of big plays, a few big plays out of A.J. Brown, so he may not have shown up at the box score touchdown-wise, but he at the very least did make his presence felt a little bit. But you did get a little bit of fight out of the Detroit Lions, because, you know, DeAndre Swift looked really good. Jared Goff didn't look all that bad. What was he? He was 21 for 37, so, you know, not the greatest. He didn't do as good fantasy-wise. I don't, you know, that's not. I feel like that's not bad. 21 for 37. Football guys, is that bad? I don't know how bad that really is. Like, I'm not great with stats. I just kind of go by with what I see, and you know, I obviously don't think Jared Goff is all that great, but evidently, like I said, 38-35. That's a one possession game for the Detroit Lions. Who, I mean, do you ever really put that much faith in the Detroit Lions? But Dan Campbell's got him playing hard. Jared Goff threw for 2 touchdowns, 1 interception. You figure, you know, Goff is good for about like a pick a game. But look, I mean, the Lions kind of hung in there. But this is, like I said, this is what I mean. This is like, you can't, I almost feel like the first 2 weeks are fool's gold. You don't know what any of this is. A lot of these teams haven't like I said before, haven't had a lot of time to gel together. And like, you'd have to feel like the first 2 weeks of the season are basically the preseason. You know, like, I can't get all that excited or worked up like they say. They were saying at the end of the Cowboy Bucks game, this is the biggest week for overreactions, because people are going to look at their teams and how they performed in week 1 and freak out or get too excited and just think that they're either going to be the worst team in the league or the best team in the league based off of what happened in week 1 when there's 16 weeks left. You know, so I mean, we'll see what happens, but Eagles start out 1-0, and they look like they could be really good. They look like they could be a formidable team, and I think Jalen Hurts can be just good enough to get them by and win, capable of winning the division. I think they said that the NFC East hasn't had a repeat winner for like 18 years. I think it's like 18 years. And we might make it 19, because I very much can see the Philadelphia Eagles pulling this division out. Even with Jalen Hurts. Look, there's people that like him. There's people that think he's really good. I'm not saying he's terrible. I think he's got good qualities. He's super elusive and can be accurate with the football. I just think he does make some boneheaded plays. He's not a great quarterback. He's an okay quarterback. He's like a 3rd or 4th tier quarterback. Well, like a step above step above Daniel Jones, I would have to say right now. Obviously, because, you know, I think he's had more success in the league than Daniel Jones has, but yeah, I mean, like it was a good game out of Philly, and I still would say a good game out of the Lions, because I really just don't think, me personally, never really expect the Lions to be competitive. I couldn't name you a single Lions wide receiver. I'm gonna take a look. I want to see a Lions wide receiver, and we're gonna see if I recognize a single freaking name. DJ Chark, recognized. There we go. There's one. Okay, so I recognize DJ Chark. And I thought he had a touchdown in that game. He did have a touchdown. Yeah, it was DeAndre Swift heading on. Amon-Ra St. Brown, I almost drafted in fantasy just because that sounds like a that sounds like that almost sounds like a Yu-Gi-Oh card. You know what I mean? Like that sounds like the most Egyptian name in the entire world, and it's I don't believe it is. But yeah, he had a touchdown. DJ Chark had a touchdown. Jamal Williams freaking oh my god, poaching from DeAndre Swift today. That was brutal. Or not today. Oh, you guys are probably seeing this um on Monday because that's when it's going to be uploaded. But yeah, so I mean, does this again? Like I said, you can't really. You got to take a lot of what you see in Week 1 with a grain of salt. But are the Lions going to be a more competitive team in the NFC North? Maybe. Starting out 0-1. I mean, again, it's. Do you really put any stock in them being all that good? Like they'll probably finish third. They'll probably finish above the Bears, who did get a win today. I will say that Soldier Field was an absolute mess. I will go over there. Soldier Field was an absolute mess. I know we're bouncing all over the place. Like I said, I had no plan going into this, so I apologize for this lunacy and just bouncing back and forth. But I'm just here to have fun. We're just having fun here. It's play on words. We like to have fun here. Here's my headshot. Uh, South Park reference. But yeah, I mean, so looking at it, it's Bears beat the Niners 19-10. And I feel like an idiot because I have Eli Mitchell and I didn't take him out. And he's could obviously went down with a knee injury. I have him on my fantasy team, and I absolutely should have because that field looked like an absolute mess. It looked like they were playing. It looked like the scene in the Longest Yard, the Adam Sandler Longest Yard, because I know this is probably sacrilegious to a lot of you sports movie fans, but I never saw the original Longest Yard. I've only ever seen the Adam Sandler one. But where they flood the field and everybody starts running around, jumping in the mud, playing around. That's what this game kind of looked like because the field looked absolutely atrocious. And I'm really glad and surprised that a lot of guys, that more guys didn't come out of this game banged up and hurt because oh boy, did it look like anybody like that. That looked like shred your ACL central in that on that field today. And Trey Lance did not look good. I was actually talking to I was watching, like I said, watching the game with family. I watch football with my family every week usually, and my cousin was over. My cousin is staying at my parents' house now, and he was saying like that apparently Trey Lance is on a bit of a short leash. Like they brought back Jimmy G to save Trey Lance if he falters or they feel like he's stumbling or any way and he can't keep up. Jimmy G's just sliding right back in. And like I feel that's pretty crazy, especially when you're talking about a guy that you drafted in the first round. I think that kind of goes to show that these quarterbacks, it doesn't necessarily matter where you draft them. You know what I mean? Just because you're going to be a first round talent doesn't mean you're going to be the next Pat Mahomes. Doesn't mean you're going to be the next, I don't know, Josh Allen. You know, like obviously if you got to go get your guy wherever you can get him, but the the San Francisco 49ers used a first round pick on this dude, expected him to be their next starting quarterback, their next franchise quarterback, and he didn't look great in this game. He didn't look good in the preseason, and already you're starting. And if this is true, you're already starting to hear rumors of being like, well, if he slips a little bit, we're throwing back in Jimmy G. Like, does that mean you're gonna hold on to Jimmy G and just keep starting him? Do you not believe in Trey Lance to ever give him that job or give him that chance again? Like, are you really just gonna punt on him after this? After a faulty season. Again, it's one game. Like I keep saying this whole I acknowledge I keep saying this whole show. Um, you got to take everything you see in week 1 with a grain of salt because these guys haven't had a lot of time to gel together. I get that, but you know, if you're hearing that there's already talks that because Trey Lance didn't look good in the preseason, they're going to give Jimmy G a spot back. that doesn't make me feel great about Trey Lance, to be quite honest with you. It makes me feel like that the coaches that drafted him don't believe in him, and now what is it, a waste of a draft pick? You're just gonna bench him and worry about affecting his ego, or his, not, maybe not his ego, because I guess in the NFL you got to check your ego at the door, but his confidence in whether or not this team actually believes in him. I don't know. Like I said, he did not look good today, but he also didn't have. He also didn't have. Let's see, what were his stats? Box score. Trey Lance was 13 for 28. Not amazing, but again, I think I guess if you really think about it, you can use the weather as a factor in this game, obviously, because it was just raining like crazy, and the field conditions looked absolutely atrocious. So, I guess you could chalk that one up. He could have that excuse maybe as his mulligan, be like, look, I just went out there, the field was an absolute mess. That's why they're putting a dome on this freaking stadium when they build a new one. Uh, it's a mulligan. They can have this one. I'll come back next week and see how we go, but it's week one, and you already hear rumblings of when's Jimmy G gonna play, or if Trey Lance falters, Jimmy G is gonna play, and that's bad, especially when you're the 49ers and you're in that division, you're in the NFC West, where you got to worry about wow, why am I blanking on the NFC West? Where you got to worry about the Rams. You really don't. I guess you got to worry about the Cardinals a little bit, but yeah, I guess that's really you know what? Yeah, now that I'm thinking about it, the NFC West is what, the Cardinals, the Rams, the Seahawks, and the Niners. So Rams take. I guess really it's just the Rams, because I'm not crazy scared of the Cardinals. I don't believe totally in Kyler. I think he could put up some. I think he could put up some pretty good numbers. I think he'd be a fun fantasy quarterback, but I don't trust Kyler in crunch time, or when it actually matters. Like that's I argue with one of my friends about that a lot, actually, that just because he's a big FanDuel guy, he's a big daily fantasy guy, does it like every week, all the time. It's part of one of those rituals that we were talking about earlier, before, when I just started this podcast, this show. I'm just struggling because, like I said, didn't prepare whatsoever. But I argue with my buddy all the time, Danny Dank. Check him out on Spotify. That because he likes to give me quarterbacks and he feels like are really good because they put up a lot of fantasy points. I'm like, sure, fantasy points are cool, but are they good enough to get you to win you a game? And that's not always the case. You could have a guy that puts up a decent amount of fantasy points, but the team still loses. He still throws a few picks, but he's got a couple of touchdowns to pad the stats, or rushing yards to pad the stats. But I don't know. I guess I guess if you do good in fantasy, that should mean you're a pretty good quarterback. But I don't know. I don't really just go by the fantasy numbers. To which Trey Lance put up 1096, which is not good for a quarterback, and Justin Fields put up 14 for 64. And look, to be honest with you, he went 8 for 17, 121 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT, 2 sacks. It wasn't a great game for Justin Fields by any means. 8 for 17, not great. But they got a win, 19-10. He had 2 touchdowns. He had a couple of nice plays. Was able to extend a few plays with his legs. I felt like that was good for him. I liked seeing that, simply because, you felt like the Bears were like, they replaced the coach that drafted him, so he's not the coach's guy. And that stupid cliche where like, oh, the GM and the coach, they're gonna want their guy in there, so who knows if Justin Fields is going to stay? It's the same thing with Daniel Jones and the Giants. Oh, Daboll and Shane's here. It's Daniel Jones is not their guy. Who knows if he's going to stay? So they got Justin Fields there. New coach, new system. Stripped the offensive line away. Dude's got like nobody to throw to. They basically took everything away from this guy and are like, okay, here, go out there and we're going to see if you're our future. And if you're not, we're probably just going to draft somebody and kick you to the curb. So, like, he is essentially set up to fail. Goes out, gets a win against the 49ers, who were supposed to be a good team, even with a rookie quarterback, unproven. At home, opening day. like I said, where you can't really trust anything, and that's just I just felt good for Justin Fields. Good for him, get that win, and because I had a grudge against I had a thing with I realize I'm peeking a little bit. I had a thing with me and my brothers were actively rooting against the Bears last year because the Giants had their first overall pick. So I was like, keep losing so we can get that so they could get a little higher. We can get on the top 5 pick, and ultimately they did lose a lot, but. Now I have no grudge. I have no reason for the Bears to lose. I have no reason to wish the Bears any harm. So Justin Fields, go out there, prove people wrong, show people that you can be a contender, show people that you can be good at football, even though you you basically have nothing around you. It's basically you and whoever you else can get to show up. You know, Mooney, Darnell is his name. Darnell Mooney, I think is his name. Let's take a look. Dante Pettis, former Giant Dante Pettis, he had a touchdown today. Yep, Darnell Mooney. It's basically that. I've never heard of any of these people. What, Khalil Herbert, that was their running back who I believe was taken over for David Montgomery, who got like nothing today. I don't even know if he was hurt. I don't believe he was hurt, but he only had 24 yards. Khalil Herbert he had -2 yards. That's not great. I could have sworn he had a touchdown. Pro Football Focus, you wrong? I could have sworn he had a touchdown, but I'm looking at Pro Football Focus and it says no. Yeah, it says no. But yeah, there's Equanimous St. Brown. I can't even say that. He's got a bunch of names that I don't know, along with Darnell Mooney and Dante Pettis, former Giant Dante Pettis, former Giant, former Niner Dante Pettis. But yeah. So a lot of questions come out of this game. Like, is Justin Fields going to be able to prove with the supporting cast around him that he can be an effective starter for the Bears going forward? And is Trey Lance all that he was cracked up to be? Is he the guy that San Francisco can feel comfortable running out there as a starting quarterback every week? And we'll see. And he's got a hope. He's got, like I said, he's got this one. This week can be his mulligan. This can be his, the conditions are really bad. Don't blame me. I'll be back next week. We'll see how this goes. That's all you got. Now, where do I want to go next? Who do I want to talk about next? Indianapolis and Houston. Holy crap. I know that Jonathan Taylor did wind up having a good game. So this game ended 20-20. And I think this is so freaking funny because everybody has been talking about the AFC South being like, it's basically the Colts division to lose. Let's take a look real quick. Going back over to the NFL real fast because I want to see I like looking at the standings. I like looking at the divisions. Conference, we're going to the AFC. Going to the AFC. So we're looking at the AFC South. It's the Tennessee Titans, Indianapolis Colts, Jacksonville Jaguars, Houston Texans. I know there were a lot of people picking the Colts to win this division simply because Matt Ryan, Jonathan Taylor, and Michael Pittman Jr., they were expecting to take a big step. And the Tennessee Titans, sure, they have Derrick Henry, but they don't have a lot of offensive weapons at receiver. I think it's Robert Wood. I literally just watched them. So it's Robert Woods and a bunch of names that I've never freaking heard of. Still a good defense. They were the number 1 seed in the AFC last year, but a lot of people thought it was the Colts division to lose. And we had a tie. Our first tie of the season comes in week 1, and it's the Colts versus the Texans. And Davis Mills, 23 for 37, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Matt Ryan, 32 for 50, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. I don't think he looked all that good. He was running a little bit. You never want to see Matt Ryan run. Jonathan Taylor still had a good day. He got 30 points in fantasy, 161 yards, 1 touchdown. To be honest with you, when I was picking this game in the beginning, I very much thought the Colts were just going to steamroll the Texans because I don't believe in Davis Mills. I didn't know if Dameon Pierce was even going to be running at all. He didn't really. He had 33 yards. I didn't know where the offense was going to come from. when it comes to the Texans. I didn't know that they had OJ Howard. They signed OJ Howard at the last minute, who had 2 touchdowns, which is good for them. Um, I didn't. To be quite honest with you, I didn't expect that. A couple of field goals got ourselves up to 20. I loved it. I have to be honest with you. I was definitely cheering for a tie once I realized that was a possibility, and I was like, the Colts are like, ever since Andrew Luck left, the Colts have been trying to win on other people's scraps. You know what I mean? Like, you go get Jacoby Brissett doesn't work. You go try to get Phil Rivers. Philip Rivers doesn't work because he's old and falling apart. You go get Carson Wentz and you realize, oh my God, Carson Wentz, he is not the guy that even Philly thought he was. You know what I mean? Like no, they let him go for freaking Nick Foles. And I get that Nick Foles won a Super Bowl, but Nick Foles is not that good. I'm sorry. Um, and Carson Wentz couldn't do it. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna get Matt Ryan, who hasn't won an MVP, who won an MVP one time, like 5 years ago, and is totally washed up on his last legs, about to be out of the league soon. Let's go get him and see if this is the guy that could put us over the hump and make us a contender and make us be, a playoff contender, maybe a Super Bowl contender. And I'm sorry, I just don't think that's the case. I never really liked Matt Ryan, to be honest with you. Like I said, I know he's got an MVP under his belt. I know he's got some good games under his. I know he was a good starter for the Atlanta Falcons, but I just always considered the Falcons a mediocre team. You know what I mean? A team that'll put up some points in the regular. The Matt Ryan Falcons. I just always figured it was a team that's going to put up a lot of points in the regular season. And then once the playoff came, the ships would get, like, the playoff came, if they made it, they'd write the ship the league would come back to form and just bounce them out because they just never were the closer. You know what I mean? Like, I remember that game when they played the Giants and the Giants went down there and I believe basically pitched a shutout. If it wasn't for a safety, they'd have pitched a shutout. We would all remember the Super Bowl that Matt Ryan went to, and Brady came back on him and destroyed him. You know what I mean? So, like, the Matt Ryan Falcons were always just a disappointment after disappointment after disappointment. So now Matt Ryan, how old is this dude? Like, how old is Matt Ryan? Let's see. Matt, I'm going to guess 38. That's what I'm going to guess, 38. Matt Ryan. I don't want to do Matt Ryan versus Derek Carr. I did that yesterday. I don't want to see who is better. 37. So May 17th, 1985. He's 37 years old. Okay, so, like, what do you think? He's got 1 or 2 years left, if that. Like, I don't know, man. Does he get past this season? Like, if the Colts are bad, like, this doesn't work, and the Colts are bad, do you think Matt Ryan retires? Like, how long did he sign? Matt Ryan's contract. Matt Ryan's contract with the Colts. Okay. Matt Ryan's current contract. How much do the Colts pay Matt Ryan? As you might expect, Matt Ryan is 18.7 million cap hit. Yeah, but the length. What's the length of the contract? Length of Matt Ryan. I'm Googling it right now. Contract with the Colts. 5 year. They gave him a 5-year deal. Oh my God, that must be to stretch out some of the money that they're gonna have to pay him, because holy crap, at 30. I'm sorry, man. That is crazy. Matt Ryan at 37 years old, you're gonna give him a 5-year deal. If anybody's watching this, if anybody does ultimately watch this and like feels like they know something, can you tell me why you would pay you would pay Matt Ryan 5 years? Like, why you would give him a 5-year deal? Like, Am I wrong for thinking that's a bad idea? Am I wrong for thinking, after Andrew Luck, kind of left or retired, like it was time to just kind of maybe try to find a new young quarterback or do something other than bringing in Matt? Because like what I see, Matt Ryan being on the Colts for 5 years, when I see that, I just think that they're going to be incredibly mediocre. Like they're going to be one of those teams where um they're the ownership and the front office is going to think they're too good to tear it down but not good enough to really win anything. They'll be in purgatory. They'll be in NFL purgatory where they're winning too many games to have a high draft pick, and they'll be middle of the pack, and you'll be able to convince yourself that Matt Ryan's good enough to get you over the hump, but we all know he really isn't. And they'll just, spin their tires until 5 years down the road, and Jonathan Taylor's either still there or somewhere else because he's like, I can't do this anymore. Matt Ryan sucks. And I don't know, man. That looks ugly. If I was a Colts fan, I'd be pissed. There is no way I would be happy with the fact that I don't even remember that the Colts would pay Matt Ryan 5 years. I don't know. Am I wrong? If somebody can, please just hit me in the comments and let me know if I'm wrong. But to be quite honest with you, I don't think I am. I gotta probably go for another like 10 minutes, make it like the even hour. Then I'll throw like an intro and outro, and we'll see how the first one goes. If anybody has any opinions, feel free to hop in the comments. Like I said, first time me doing a sports podcast by myself, and I'm kind of having a good time with it. I think this has been fun. But yeah, so Colts fans, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry that you have to deal with this, but the next 5 years you get Matt Ryan under center. Yikes. If I forget down to less like 9 minutes, so like Jets Baltimore is pretty much what I expected. I'm not one of those guys that believes in Zach Wilson right away, but I would have rather, if I was a Jets fan, I would have rather see Zach Wilson under center rather than Joe Flacco, because he looked like an absolute nobody. That dude cannot play anymore. He should be gone. I guess he's a good backup, I don't know if he is a good backup because the Jets only scored 9 points today. The offense looked absolutely abysmal. The defense, while I want to say didn't I felt like in the beginning from what we were seeing, because they didn't show up on Red Zone a lot. I didn't watch that game. That didn't show up on Red Zone a lot, rightfully so, which made me feel like in the beginning, oh wow, the Jets defense is actually keeping up with Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. But ultimately that was a moot point because Baltimore went up 24-9. And Lamar Jackson woke up, scored a couple of touchdowns. I think he threw for a couple. Let's see. Take a look at that box score. Pro Football Focus. Just sounded like a Focus. Is that a Philly? Is that a Philly accent? Is that a terrible Philly accent? Let's take a look at the box score. Lamar Jackson, 17 for 30. Not bad. 213 yards. 3 touchdowns, 1 INT. That's probably not that bad of an INT. Not bad. I heard something again. I think it was my cousin that told me that Mark Andrews is apparently a paper tiger because like a lot of his touchdowns don't come from Lamar Jackson, which I feel like sounds weird, and I'd have to look into that, but besides the point. This is kind of the score that you would expected. I wouldn't have been shocked if this was a score had Zach Wilson even played, because the Jets just did not look good. The defense couldn't hold up because I'm assuming, again, didn't see a lot of this game because I just saw it from Red Zone. I saw a Red Zone show and what I saw on social media, a lot of the replays, but I would imagine that the defense just couldn't hold up because the offense was doing absolutely nothing. When you score 9 points, your offense is doing absolutely nothing. And you couldn't have expected much from Joe Flacco. Again, the dude stinks, and we got about as much as I had expected from this game. Bigger shocker is Minnesota actually came in and stomped out Green Bay 23-7. That was a crazy shocker. I get, well, maybe not super crazy. I just look for whatever you say about Aaron Rodgers. I know he's getting older, and maybe he's not the same quarterback that we've seen over the years. He's still great, but I thought he was gonna be able to figure it out, or at least in it again, it's week one. But I thought, sure, you're gonna feel the loss of Davonte Adams. He's one of the best wide receivers in the game, and it's kind of crazy that that Green Bay had to let him go to Vegas, but Rodgers did not look in sync with anybody. He looked bad. There was one time I saw he got hit, and I thought he might have been hurt, but he did. That team just looked all sorts of messed up. Randall Cobb, I think, is the only guy that's like that's like a staple on that offense right now, and he didn't even look good. Sammy Watkins didn't look good. Sorry for sniffing into the microphone. My allergies are kind of killing me right now. I don't know where this is coming from, but they just this Pro Football Focus is actually freezing up on me right now. But no, but I don't even need that to tell you that the Green Bay Packers looked absolutely abysmal in this game, and I think Rodgers said that they got a lot of work to do, and yeah, you do. Maybe you need to take them on one of your ayahuasca retreats, and you guys need to have a team building exercise where you open up your third eye and see the world differently because you just went on some crazy spiritual trip. Maybe that's the key. Can we talk about that? That is it because it wasn't during the season and he didn't get caught in an NFL drug test, but like Josh Gordon can get suspended year after year for smoking a little bit of pot, even though he probably can't now because I think they got rid of that rule. But dude smokes a bunch of pot and basically gets banned from the NFL over the years because just not literally banned, but he was suspended after suspended after suspension after suspension, and but Aaron Rodgers can just go on podcasts and just admit that he was tripping face at different moments of this offseason, or just has done it before and nothing. He gets nothing. I think that's really funny. I'd imagine it's just because he wasn't testing positive under NFL from NFL drug tests, but regardless, the Packers got a lot of figuring out to do because they lost to the Minnesota freaking Vikings. Justin Jefferson went off today. Kirk Cousins and Justin Jefferson went off today. And I hate Kirk Cousins. I think he's the biggest bum. Maybe it's from his Washington days, but I think he's the biggest bum. And ultimately he shoved it right in my face because they won 23-7, and I would have never picked that in a million freaking years. Even though I should put a little bit more respect on that team. Dalvin Cook's good when he's healthy. Justin Jefferson's really good. Adam Thielen's a good number 2. So, look, the Vikings, you could argue, are put together a lot better than the Green Bay Packers are. Packers got Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Jones when he's healthy, and A.J. Dillon, which, A.J. Dillon's nothing special. I just got to name him. And then a bunch of nobodies at wide receiver. Sorry, I'm not Randall Cobb. You're not a somebody. So that's gonna be interesting to see how the Packers, like, are we actually gonna get a year where the Minnesota Vikings win the division? Are we actually gonna get that? A Aaron Rodgers led Packers lose the division to the Minnesota Vikings? I don't know. Do the Packers want Kenny Golladay? The Giants got a wide receiver who's making a whole bunch of money, but do you want him? I'll trade him. He did have a catch today, but I'll trade him. You can have him. You guys need a wide receiver? I mean, the guy was good when he was in Detroit. You know him. You've seen him a whole bunch of times. He's in the NFC. He's from the NFC North. You know him. Maybe you should take him. Maybe you and the Packer conglomerate should take him, because the Packers are obviously one of those teams. Not one of those teams. Is a team that's like owned by the people that live in Green Bay. That weird freaking, I don't know how that works, but I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see how the Packers do. And like, I wonder if, like, do you think like if this season goes absolutely terrible, like the Packers, one of the worst teams in the league, getting beat up? I don't think that'll obviously happen because I believe Aaron Rodgers is too good to let that happen. But if they have a down year, do you think Rodgers looks at it and is like, I'm out. I'm gonna retire now because I'm done getting beat up, and I got and this team is barren. Do you think that happens? Even though he's looking at Tom Brady and seeing him succeed in his 40s, 45 to be exact, and and like, do you think that that would keep him Rodgers from retiring, from walking away? I don't know. Rodgers just sounds so weird in a lot of these pressers that he does, or a lot of these interviews that he does. Like it's like, I don't know. It doesn't sound the same. Like Brady, you know Brady. You know Tom Brady is just like, he knows he's the best. He's got no problem knowing that he's the best, and he just like wants to play football and beat everybody. Like he's just got that gene that's just like, I don't care how old I am. I just want to lay waste to everybody. I just want to go out there because I know I can be the best. I'm going to be the best, and I'm going to beat everybody. That's how I feel. That's how I feel. That's how I feel Brady is. And I don't know if Rodgers is the same way. I don't know if Rodgers would be like, I just made a whole bunch of money, I had a great career, and walk away if his team is bad. I don't know. Probably not, because he signed that. How long is Rodgers' contract? Ron Rodgers contract. He signed a 3-year. Okay, his deal is officially viewed as a 3-year, $150.815 million contract extension. Fully guaranteed base salary of $59.5 million. So yeah, probably play for another 3 years. He's 38 and probably bounce. Yeah, no, I think he'll play that out. Yeah, I think he'll play that out. I don't think Rodgers is going anywhere. He'll probably play that out and then go right off into the sunset and go do some more ayahuasca somewhere. But wow, 23-7. I did not expect that one bit. So now Giants. You know what? I'm saving the Giants for last just because I want to freak out about the Giants. Then we'll go, and maybe I'll freak out about the Mets a little bit before I go to Tampa Bay and Dallas, whom I just got done watching before I went on and did this show. And I again was not expecting a lot of this. I was expecting actually a pretty close game. I thought Tampa was going to take a little bit of a step back because they had a little bit of a patchwork at their offensive line. Gronk's not there anymore. Chris Godwin went down during the game. I think he had a hamstring injury coming off of an ACL injury. So I thought you were going to see a bit of a setback. I think one of their offensive linemen, the Bucs offensive lineman, went down before the first half ended. So I thought you were going to see a little bit of a regression. I'm not going to be Max Kellerman and say that Brady's about to hit a cliff, even though he's 45 and is like the oldest guy to ever start an NFL game. I don't know if it's a quarterback. I feel like it's got to be a quarterback. Adam Terry's got to be older than that. But and he's at least the oldest guy. I'm pretty sure they said he was like the oldest guy to start an NFL game. And I didn't expect him to take too much of a step back. I just thought the team around him wasn't going to be as good as they initially were. And I'd argue that they necessarily weren't. It was they only scored 19 points. The Cowboys defense, I guess, was average or wasn't too bad, because 19 points isn't a crazy amount of points, for as potent of an offense as you would expect. Tom Brady, Chris Godwin when healthy, Mike Evans, Cameron Brate's pretty good. For that offense, Leonard Fournette was kind of running all over the place. I feel like you would expect a little bit more points, but the Cowboy defense did hold up at times. Brady did, I think, at least have one interception. I believe it was just one pick, right? Yeah, one pick, one touchdown. The Cowboy defense did get a little bit of pressure on Brady. I think Micah Parsons had 2 sacks. The Cowboy defense didn't look terrible. It also didn't look great at times. Tom Brady was gashing him for big plays a few times. Leonard Fournette was running free a lot. I think the most alarming part about this game was from the Cowboys' sense, in that the offense didn't look good. Zeke was running well a little bit, not too much. Dak did not look good. I will be on record. I'm not the biggest Dak fan. I'm a Giants fan, so I guess I'm a little bit of a hater and I'm a little bit of a homer. But I think a lot of the Cowboys, they said, had the number 1 scoring offense last year. A lot of people want to put Dak Prescott. A lot of people in the media want to put Dak Prescott in the elite territory in the conversation with Lamar Jackson, Pat Mahomes, and Josh Allen. And I'm sorry, I just don't see it. Like you can tell me winning divisions, you can tell me making the playoffs, but let's be real here. Dak Prescott has played in the softest division in football. Okay, like the Giants haven't been good in years. Washington usually is dysfunctional and isn't all that good. Philly underperforms all the time, except for that one year they won the Super Bowl a billion years ago. At this point, the NFC East is never really all that good, and the Cowboys, for the most part, most years can close their eyes and wake up in the playoffs because it's just not. You would think it's not that great of a division, but the Cowboys, year after year, disappointment after disappointment after disappointment after disappointment, and Dak Prescott is the helm of it. I have a buddy who's a Cowboys fan, my buddy Danny, like the same Danny I was talking about before, Danny Dank. Go look at his music. You can find it on Spotify. There's two of them. I'll let you know which one when you. I don't remember his songs off the top of my head, but um, I know he argues with me all the time because Dak had that historic rookie season where he's breaking all these Cowboy records. And he's like, I saw that, so I know that that's in him. I'm like, yeah, that's great that you saw that. But what have you seen recently? And you've seen a guy that, sure, there are times he can make some pretty remarkable plays, with his legs, being gritty, getting those first downs. There are times where he can drop some dimes, make a couple of nice passes, but there are also times where he makes some boneheaded plays where he throws bad picks. He throws behind guys. He looks average. It very much just feels like the Tony Romo era, to be quite honest with you. It feels like the era that this dude took over for, where you're a quarterback. I think Tony might have been a little better because I remember those games. I feel like I remember him just being a better quarterback, but he had more time in the NFL and he just got a little brittle to the end. But Dak Prescott feels like a guy that everybody's giving the potential to. You can be this great quarterback and just never gets it done. Never gets it done. He gets all these accolades. He got paid like he's a star franchise quarterback, and he never gets it done. And it's always everybody else's fault. It's always everybody else's fault. It's the running game's fault. It's the receiver's fault. It's the defense's fault. It's never Dak's fault. And I don't get it. I really don't get it. I understand. I get that. Sure, he could put up some good numbers. He could be a good fantasy football quarterback. But when it comes to winning games, he plays in the weakest division in football, or has played in the weakest division in football, and has done nothing in the playoffs. Has proven nothing in the playoffs. But everybody wants to say this Cowboys team has the talent to be the best and win a Super Bowl, and Dak Prescott can lead them there. How are you going to tell me that when this dude is the prettiest person at the in the ugly awards? I'm trying not to genderize that, but what are we doing here? How are we just going to put Dak Prescott in the upper echelon of these teams when he doesn't perform when it actually matters most, when he crumbles in the big moment? I don't get it. I really don't get it. Do I think he's talented? Sure. Yeah, sure. I think he's talented. If you make it to the NFL, you're talented. Are there quarterbacks that I would take him over? Yeah, I would probably take Dak Prescott over Kirk Cousins. I would probably take Dak Prescott over Trevor Lawrence. I would probably take Dak Prescott over maybe even Kyler Murray. But do I trust that Dak Prescott is going to be able to take a team and lead them to a Super Bowl? No, I don't, because I've seen him make some boneheaded plays, and I've seen him come up short when it matters most. That's it. Look, and they were doing it all night. They were blaming the fact that the Cowboys didn't have a lot of wide receivers. Well, here's the thing. If CeeDee Lamb is supposed to be this big number one target, shouldn't and Dalton Schultz was pretty serviceable for the Cowboys as a tight end last year. Shouldn't that open up the field for other guys? Shouldn't other guys be open and be able to hit passes? And where I was seeing them blaming receivers and guys that are no names to most people. While I saw them being a problem, I also saw Dak overthrown guys, thrown behind guys, just being incredibly inconsistent. Now I I will admit that some of the receivers I've never heard of before. A lot of unprovens, and I will admit that their offensive line is definitely needed some work. Tyron Smith going down isn't good. Was it Jason Peters, the former Eagle lineman? He didn't play, so that doesn't help. And I believe one of their offensive linemen went down during the game. I understand that the offensive line was in shambles, but the offensive line play in the NFL for a while hasn't been great, and teams have figured it out. I'm a Giants fan, and I've been blaming the offensive line for Eli Manning's troubles in the end and Daniel Jones's troubles at the end. When you see the Dolphins still being the Dolphins, but still having enough to get Jalen Waddle, like I think make Jalen Waddle a successful receiver with Tua. When Joe Burrow's running for his life, but can still make it to the Super Bowl. What else? Those are the two right off the top of my head. There's going to be bad offensive line play. You just got to figure out how to do it you just got to figure out how to allocate your personnel to make your team still successful because you still have the talent on the team. There's plenty of bad offensive lines and quarterbacks that figure it out and figure out how to win games. And this one, Bucks, Cowboys, was totally disappointing, at least from the Cowboys' end, because they finished 19-3. You expected it to be a high-scoring, close game, and it just wasn't. The Cowboys looked flat as hell. Like the defense looked okay at times, and it looked not okay at times. The offense looked mediocre at times and bad at others. And now the worst part is we find out that Dak Prescott, he hurt his hand, came in contact with a helmet on one of the plays, and then I think it was Shaq Barrett. They collided hands and basically high-fived during a play. They didn't really high-five. It was just they hit together. And now Dak, according to Jerry Jones, nonetheless, he says Dak's going to need surgery and will be out several weeks. We saw him come out at the end of the fourth quarter, and he came out and he had to go to the locker room. He had to get some x-rays done, and Jerry Jones came out and said Dak Prescott's going to need surgery, going to be out several weeks. Didn't obviously put a number on it because this just came out, and Cooper Rush will now be the quarterback of the Dallas Cowboys. I wonder if that's how that stays, or they go try to find somebody off the scrap heap to just throw in there. But wow, this has been a rough day for Cowboys fans, because all you had heard was, oh, this is the year that the Cowboys are going to figure it out. They have to do it this year. It's put up or shut up time because Mike McCarthy won't survive if the Cowboys don't figure it out, and now they're going to be out without their star franchise quarterback. What I wonder, though, now this just came into my head right now, does this mean Mike McCarthy has one extra life? Does Mike McCarthy get to stay an extra year? Because depending on how long Dak's out for, this this effectively has Jerry Jones saying, well, I don't know if I could fire this guy because, look, Dak wasn't there. How is he supposed to win if Dak's not there? How are we going to be a competitive Super Bowl team if my franchise quarterback that I'm paying a bunch of money to isn't there? I got to give Mike McCarthy another shot, even though Sean Payton's waiting in the wings to take that job. So Mike McCarthy's probably like, at least if Dak doesn't come back, I bought myself one more time. But again, you're not winning anything without Dak Prescott. I don't think Dak's going to win him a Super Bowl anyway, but you're definitely not winning with Cooper Rush at quarterback. That's not happening. You ain't making the playoffs with Cooper Rush at quarterback. You make the playoffs with Dak. You won't win in the playoffs with Dak, but you'll make the playoffs with Dak. You ain't making it with Cooper Rush. That's crazy. This is just I was happy I was smiling from ear to ear because this was the best Sunday I could have had as a sports fan. The Mets won. Little baseball. The Mets won. Atlanta lost. So the Mets gained a game on Atlanta. It's up to a game and a half in the NL East. The Giants won and the Cowboys lost. That's great. That's absolutely great. It's a three-way tie for first place. Eagles, Commanders, and the Giants. Cowboys in the basement, the only one that lost. and I'm riding high. And now this just brings us right into hour 13 at what hour 13 in the Giant game. Holy crap. How many times Giants win against the Tennessee Titans 21-20. Giants are driving at the end of the game, score a touchdown to make it 19-20. Dayball's like, I got this. We're going to go for two. We're going to go for two. The New York Giants, any other year, with Joe Judge or Pat Shermer or McAdoo as the coach, going for two on that play, don't get it. Or they do. No, they might. They might still get it. They might still get it. But here's the difference. Here's the difference. The Dayball and Shane Giants have a new aura and a new swagger about them. Maybe it's because it's week one, and like I said, you can't put a lot of stock into week one because, teams are still figuring their stuff out. But they said in the postgame, Dayball said, we asked the defense, hey, guys, I'm going to go for it. You guys all right with it? And they said, F yeah. They said, I don't want to curse just because I don't feel like making this adults only. I may have cursed before. I don't remember. But they make it. And, we've seen this game before. Giants take the lead. They take the lead. There's like a minute 20 left. Enough time for the other team to drive down the field, score a touchdown. I've seen this game before. I've seen this for the last 4 or 5 years. Every year the Giants get into this situation. They take the lead late, squander it a little bit. They just let the team march down the field. There's some penalties involved. The team gets into field goal range. They kick the field goal. We all go home sad. Us Giants fans go home sad. And that's kind of the way it looked like it was going to happen. It was a little bit of an up and down game. Daniel Jones had a fumble and a pick, 2 turnovers, but he also had a couple of touchdown passes. I understand it was a little underthrown. Shep had to stop for it, but a nice deep ball down to Sterling Shepard. DJ had a couple of nice throws in this game. Saquon Barkley, the offensive line looked like it was blocking pretty well for Saquon. DJ did have a lot. He was under duress a little bit. I will admit he was under duress, and I think he was seeing ghosts. Maybe not seeing ghosts, but he was a little scared, and I think he was a little anxious and made a few bad decisions. The interception in the end zone, that was bad. There were a couple of bad sacks, but I'm going to give it to him because I think the Titans have a good defense, and again, that team was the number 1 seed in the AFC last year, and I think it was mostly because of Derrick Henry and then defense, because the defense isn't that bad. But the Giants held their own, man. They stayed in the game. They were in the game basically until the end. Like I said, they score with a minute and 20 left, make it 21-20. And like I said, we've seen this game before. Like I said, the team goes down, kicks the field goal, the game ends, and that's kind of how it looked. Tennessee starts driving, and you just see the Giants' defense penalty up until I think they set themselves up for a 47-yard field goal. The Titans set themselves up for a 47-yard field goal, and all of us are standing in my parents' house staring at the TV like, good, this is over. They're going to kick the field goal. We're all going to be bummed, go to work and sleep pissed off, and that doesn't happen. Randy Bullock hooks it left. Giants win. First time they've been over 500 in a season since 2016. They're 1-0 to start the season, and I don't know how you could not feel great. They finally pulled a win out, a win that you see them lose, a game that you see them lose year after year. They win. They find a way to pull it out and win. The offense doesn't look perfect, but I'm going to give that to them because, look, this is Daniel Jones' I think third offensive system since he's been in the league, and he's been in the league for 4 years. So that's not great. He's got to learn all this new offense with some new players and a new offensive line in a preseason that nobody the preseason is useless because 3 games and that's it, and the rest of it is joint practices and mini camps. So you're going to need some time to gel. It's going to take some time to gel. And like I said, I've seen enough of Daniel Jones to know that to think that he probably isn't going to wind up being the answer. But I also will acknowledge that it's going to take some time for this dude to learn this offense, learn this system. It's not just going to be like week one, he's going to have it all because he's been through like two others in his time in the league. So I didn't expect much. Like I said, I'm going into this Giants season with zero expectations. I don't expect them to be a Super Bowl contender. I barely expect them to be a playoff contender. I don't really even expect them to be a playoff contender just because the team won 4 games last year, and you still saw some of the normal problems that were plaguing them this year. Not being able to move the ball, having to settle for too many punts. Out of week one, I'm happy with the New York Football Giants, and I haven't been happy with the Giants since they won a Super Bowl in 2011, maybe. Because even the year that they went to the wild card game against the Packers and they lost in Green Bay, the infamous boat trip, it's the first time the Giants have had a winning record since that picture was taken. Um, you know, I got to be over them. I just lost my train of thought, but I'm happy. I know that there's a lot of people, right? Like there are Giants fans that just want to see them tank so they can get a quarterback in the draft. I'm not with that. You know what I mean? Like I want to see a competitive football team. I want to see I'm trying to, like, I was listening to a lot of sports radio where they're saying, the worst possible thing is the Giants being middle of the pack, picking at the middle of the draft because they'll never get their quarterback and they'll never get their savior. I see enough teams picking at the top of the draft, your Browns, your Lions, your Jaguars to be specifically, and they all just stay there. I understand that the Browns are going to have Deshaun Watson and that might be different, but the garbage team, the Jets, one of the garbage teams, they're picking quarterbacks, they're picking at the top of the draft every single year, and it doesn't always work out. So the way I see it, Dable and Shane put a team together that they're acknowledging has zero expectations. Definitely not going to be Super Bowl contenders, but be competitive. Be a competitive team, and if Daniel Jones isn't if you feel like Daniel Jones isn't the answer, replace him. Do what you got to do. Trade some picks. Do what you got to do to free up some to use your draft capital or use whatever you can to get to a spot to pick your guy and get your guy. And I feel like they have the competent team around them, around the organization to do that. So, like, I'm not going to sit here and just be like, lose, Giants, just lose out. I want to enjoy football season. Just lose to get a top 5 pick so we can take this guy out of Kentucky or a CJ Stroud from Ohio State. I think it's Ohio State, or this dude from Florida who I keep hearing everybody is raving about, even though I also heard he's not that good. I don't know. I don't really watch college football, but I don't want to do that anymore. I don't want to root for the Giants to just be bad so we can get a high draft pick. I would just rather just play well. I want to see fun football. Like, that was so much fun today, sitting down and watching the Giants win a freaking football game. I'd rather see that. Like I said, I was talking about, like, the Giants are kind of playing with house money, zero expectations. So either this team is there's 3 levels to this. Either they're really bad and they get a new quarterback. They're middle of the pack, maybe making a wild card or in the wild card discussion. And then the season ends. They don't go to the Super Bowl, obviously. And they're like, well, I feel like the nucleus of the team is pretty good, but we're going to draft a new quarterback just because we don't really believe in Daniel Jones, but we think this core is good. Need a sip of water. So they still draft a new quarterback. But that is entertaining football because, like I said, they're a wildcard contender. Or the very unlikely part, this team figures it out, goes on a deep run in the playoffs, gets to the, second or third round of the playoffs, and then we have the conversation if we're going to keep Daniel Jones or not. But if that's the case, I'm a little bit more comfortable because that team would at least be showing me that they're a competent football team. I just want to see competence. I just want to see a team that is exciting to watch. I don't, I'm in the minority. I know there's a lot of people that are saying lose, lose, lose. Giants just keep losing. Tank for a good pick. I don't want to see that anymore. I want to see fun football. I want to see competent football. I want to see a good team, and I want to see a team that at least is showing me progress. That we're moving somewhere. We're moving out of these dark ages because I'm just sick and tired of terrible Giants football. I'm so excited because I have the Mets being the Mets in first place again, being one of the best teams in baseball. And I do got to go because my voice is starting to go, and maybe I'll do a little bit more baseball next time I do one of these And maybe I'll come up with a name by the time I do one of these. But I I like I have the Mets being in first place, like amazing. The Islanders, we'll see where they go. But I was so excited because I have the Mets being able to watch the Mets in the playoffs and watch the Giants and watch them together and enjoy. Because usually I'm getting excited for football season because the Mets are already out and disappointing me, so I get excited for football season, and that's what makes us hurt so much. Like the Giants have been bad, and the Mets would be bad, so like I have nothing to look forward to sports wise, and that kills me. Now I got the Mets being awesome, and if I can get to the Giants being awesome, and I have two teams I could watch, like the Mets are good at the end of the year and in October, and then the Giant this just feeds right into the Giants being awesome. That's a dream to me. That's literally a land that I've never been in or rarely am ever in. Because the Giants are either good or mediocre, or now in this case bad, and the Mets are just always bad for the most part, always bad. It looks like it's different now. The Mets are really good and look like they're here to stay, and hopefully the Giants can get there one day. And I don't know. Hopefully the Islanders figure it out because I miss enjoying the Islanders. But thank you guys for watching my first episode of whatever I decide to name this show. I hope you had a good time. Please follow at It's Mr. Greer on all social medias, all streaming platforms. Um, like I said, the Grindhouse Radio weekly Thursday nights, anywhere you can get your podcasts. Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio. Um, and like I said, this is my first one, so I probably won't get a lot of views on this. I hope I do. I hope I get some. Please hop in the comments. Let me know what you think. You can check out my website. It's mrgreer.com. I don't have a crazy amount on there. I'll probably throw this up there once I get the chance. And man, thank you guys for listening, and thank you for being here. Like I said, this is the first of what I hope is many, and at some point I hope to get a name for it, and I'm gonna have to once I start trying to put it on Apple Music and Spotify. But thank you guys for being here. Have a great day, whatever day you're watching this, and I will see you next time.